How to master yourself in a world you can't control. Most people wake up and immediately give away control of their emotions. A notification changes their mood. A stranger's opinion ruins their confidence. A setback convinces them that life is against them. Without realizing it, they become prisoners of circumstances they never truly controlled. But over 2,000 years ago, a group of philosophers discovered a radically different way to live. They weren't interested in becoming famous. They weren't chasing comfort or pleasure. They were searching for something much more valuable: inner freedom. This philosophy became known as Stoicism. And today, in a world filled with distractions, anxiety, comparison, and endless noise, its lessons may be more relevant than ever. So let me ask you a question. Who is really controlling your life? Is it you? Or is it everything happening around you? Take a moment to think about that, because your answer may change everything. The first lesson of Stoicism is deceptively simple. There are things you can control, and there are things you cannot. You can control your actions. You can control your attitude. You can control your effort. You can control the words you choose, the habits you build, and the person you decide to become. But you cannot control the weather. You cannot control the opinions of strangers. You cannot control the economy, bad luck, rejection, or the past. Yet most people spend their lives fighting battles they can never win. They argue with reality. They replay old mistakes. They desperately try to make everyone like them. And with every failed attempt, they become more frustrated, more anxious, and more exhausted. The Stoics believed that suffering often begins the moment we demand that reality obey our expectations. Instead, they taught something revolutionary. Accept reality exactly as it is. Not because you like it, not because it's fair, but because resisting what already exists only creates unnecessary pain. Imagine standing in the middle of a powerful storm. Would you scream at the wind? Would you order the rain to stop? Of course not. You would adapt. Life is no different. The strongest people are rarely those who control the world. They are the ones who have learned to control themselves. Now ask yourself another question. How much of your stress comes from things you actually have the power to change? The answer might surprise you. Another core principle of Stoicism is that events themselves are not what hurt us. Our judgments about those events do. Two people lose their jobs. One sees it as the end of everything. The other sees it as the beginning of a new chapter. Same event, different interpretation, different future. The Stoics understood something modern psychology continues to confirm. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a space. Inside that space lives your freedom. Most people react automatically. A criticism makes them angry. Failure makes them quit. Fear makes them freeze. But a Stoic pauses. They observe. They think. Then they choose their response with intention. That single habit can transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. Think about your own life. How many decisions have you made while angry? How many opportunities have you missed because fear convinced you not to try? How many nights have you lost worrying about tomorrow? Now imagine reclaiming that emotional energy. Imagine responding instead of reacting. Imagine becoming unshakable. That is the Stoic ideal. Of course, being Stoic doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It doesn't mean pretending pain doesn't exist. Stoics feel sadness. They experience disappointment. They know grief. They simply refuse to let emotions become dictators. Emotions are visitors. Wisdom decides whether they stay. One of the greatest Stoic practices is negative visualization. At first, it sounds pessimistic, but it's actually one of the most powerful gratitude exercises ever created. Imagine, for just a moment, that everything you love disappeared tomorrow. Your family, your health, your closest friend, your home, your opportunities. Suddenly, the things you take for granted become priceless. Gratitude is born not from having more. It comes from realizing how much you already have. Ironically, those who constantly chase happiness often never find it. Those who appreciate the present usually discover happiness was there all along. Here's another question. When was the last time you truly appreciated an ordinary day? Not a vacation, not a celebration, just a normal Tuesday. Because one day, you'll realize those ordinary days were the ones that mattered most. The Stoics also believed that character is the greatest form of wealth. Money can disappear. Beauty fades. Status changes. Fame is temporary. But wisdom, integrity, courage, discipline, these cannot be taken from you unless you willingly give them away. Ask yourself honestly, if everything you owned disappeared tonight, who would you still be tomorrow? That answer reveals your true riches. Modern society constantly tells us to chase more. More money, more followers, more recognition, more possessions. But Stoicism asks a completely different question. Who are you becoming while chasing all those things? Because success without character is fragile. Character without success is still powerful. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, and one of the most powerful emperors Rome ever had, wrote reminders to himself instead of speeches for others. Every morning, he reminded himself that he would meet difficult people, people who were selfish, ignorant, arrogant, dishonest, not because he was cynical, because he wanted to prepare his mind before life tested it. Imagine starting every morning expecting challenges instead of expecting perfection. Would disappointment lose some of its power? Probably. Preparation creates resilience. Expectation creates frustration. Another Stoic lesson is beautifully simple. Do every task as if it were the last thing you'll ever do, not with fear, but with complete presence. When you eat, just eat. When you listen, actually listen. When you work, give it your full attention. Most people are physically present, but mentally, somewhere else. Always chasing the next moment, the next achievement, the next weekend, the next version of themselves. Meanwhile, life quietly slips away. The present moment is the only place where life actually happens. Everything else exists only in memory or imagination. So here's something worth reflecting on. If today repeated itself every day for the next 5 years, would you be proud of the life you're building? If the answer is no. What needs to change? Stoicism also teaches us to welcome discomfort. Take the cold shower. Wake up earlier. Finish the difficult workout. Have the uncomfortable conversation. Read instead of endlessly scrolling. Discomfort is often the entrance fee for growth. Comfort, when overused, slowly becomes a prison. Every difficult thing you voluntarily choose makes unavoidable hardships easier to face later. You become stronger, not by avoiding challenges, but by meeting them willingly. Think back to the hardest experience of your life. At the time, it probably felt unbearable. But look at who you became because of it. Pain often becomes the teacher that comfort never could. Perhaps the greatest Stoic reflection is this: one day, you will die. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to wake you up. Every person you've ever admired faced the same ending. Every argument, every embarrassment, every failure, every success, all temporary. Remembering death doesn't make life darker. It makes life infinitely more valuable. When you understand time is limited, you stop wasting it trying to impress people who barely think about you. You stop postponing your dreams. You stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment has always been today. So ask yourself one final question. If you knew this was your last year on Earth, what would you stop worrying about? And perhaps more importantly, what would you finally start doing? Stoicism isn't about becoming fearless. It's about acting despite fear. It isn't about controlling the world. It's about mastering yourself. It isn't about living an easy life. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle a difficult one. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity, another chance to choose discipline over excuses, wisdom over impulse, courage over comfort, presence over distraction. The world may remain unpredictable, People may disappoint you. Plans may fail. Life will continue testing you. But none of those things determine who you become. That choice has always belonged to you. So as you leave this video, don't ask whether life will become easier. Ask whether you can become stronger. Don't ask whether people will treat you fairly. Ask whether you'll continue acting with integrity anyway. Don't ask whether the future is certain. Ask whether you'll make the most of today. Because in the end, the greatest victory isn't conquering the world. It's conquering yourself. And perhaps that is what true freedom has meant all along.